For centuries we've been wrestling with one of the biggest questions about ourselves. What makes us who we are? Is it our biology or is it our biography? So let's dive into this classic debate and see where the science is actually taking us. It's not where you might think.
Just think about it for a second. Really. What about you? Your talents, your personality, very core of who you are. Is that all just a product of your genetic inheritance? Or is it the result of your upbringing, culture, and the life you've lived? This question, it's not just some academic thing. It gets to the very heart of how we see ourselves. So the way we've always looked at this is like a big showdown. In one corner, you've got nature, or DNA, a biological blueprint passed down through generations. And in the other corner, you have nurture, which is, everything else. Your family, your friends, your culture. It's always been framed as the ultimate battle, genes versus environment.
But what if I told you framing it as a versus is completely missing the point? Modern science, especially the field of behavioral genetics, has uncovered some foundational rules about behavior that totally flip this whole debate on its head.
Okay, so modern research has given us basically three new laws of the game. First, genes influence everything. Your intelligence, your personality. Pretty much all human behaviors are heritable to some degree. Second, this is important, no complex traits ever 100% genetic. There's always room for other factors. And third, this one is the real shock. The shared environment, like your family home that we assume that makes siblings similar, actually tends to do the opposite.
Yeah. Let that one sink in for a minute. We all just assume that growing up in the same house with the same parents should make kids turn out alike. The research shows the opposite is true. It's those unique, non-shared experiences, having different friends, different teachers, different hobbies, really sculpt who we become as individuals. I mean, that's a massive twist, right?
This number right here, big zero, it just hammers home that second. While genes are always a factor. When you're talking about complex behaviors like personality or intelligence, there isn't a single trait that is 100% dictated by your DNA. Not a single one. Genes give us the blue, sure. They definitely don't build the house all by themselves.
So if asking how much is the wrong question, what's the right one? Well, it turns out the answer comes from a framework that lets us look at any behavior from four totally different but equally important angles. It's called Tinbergen's four questions. And instead of a tug of war between nature and nurture, it gives us this complete 360-degree view of why a behavior exists and how it works, all the way from the level of molecules up to evolution. It's a real game changer.
All right, let's break this down.
It looks a little academic, but it's actually super simple. It organizes everything into two pairs. First, you have the how questions. Those are about the immediate causes of a behavior. Then you have the why question, deeper, evolutionary reason. And for each of those, you can look at it right now, a static snapshot, or over time, dynamically. To really get the full picture of any behavior, you need all four answers. Okay, let's take a simple example, like vision, and run it through this. The first question is about mechanism. How does vision work? Right now, in this very moment, it's the physics of the lens focusing light, chemistry of the retina, neurology of the brain making sense of it all. It's the nuts and bolts of how it works stuff. Now let's jump over to question 3 on our chart. We're still in the how category. This is ontogeny. This asks, how does vision develop in one person over their lifetime? Because it's not automatic. Babies' eyes actually need to see light for the neural pathways to form correctly. This is a perfect example where nurture, experience in this case, is absolutely critical for nature to do its job.
All right, we've got the how covered. Let's tackle the why, the ultimate causes. Question 2 is function. What is vision for? What's its survival value? Well, that's pretty obvious, right? It helps us find food, spot predators, and navigate our world. It gives us a massive adaptive advantage.
And finally, phylogeny. How did vision evolve over millions of years in our species? This question explains all the weird quirks, like the fact that our eyes are built backwards and have a blind spot. It wasn't perfectly designed. It's a product of a long, messy, evolutionary history.
Okay, so we know genes and our environment are in a constant conversation. Tinbergen's questions show us that on the big picture level. What about the micro level? How does an experience, moment of stress or an act of kindness, how does that physically get under our skin and change the way our genes actually work?
Well, the answer to that question brings us to one of the most exciting fields in all of biology, behavioral epigenetics. This is the science that finally connects nurture directly to nature, right down at the molecular level. It's the missing link.
So here's the crucial point. Epigenetics doesn't change your genes. It doesn't alter your DNA sequence. What it does is change your gene expression. It's not about rewriting the book of your DNA. It's more like adding notes in the margins, highlighting some sentences and crossing out others. It tells your body which parts of the book to read and which parts to ignore.
Think of it like this. Your DNA is like a massive switchboard with thousands and thousands of switches. Epigenetic marks, which get placed there by your experiences, are like little hands that come along and flip those switches on or off, dialing the activity of certain genes way up, way down. There's this classic study that shows this perfectly. Scientists looked at rat mice. Some were raised by super nurturing moms who licked and groomed them all the time. Others had less attentive moms. The result? Well, the pups that got less attention grew up to be anxious, stressed out adults. And when researchers looked at their brains, they found that epigenetic marks had literally silenced key genes that helped regulate stress. I mean, just think about how profound that is. Behavior. Mother's nurturing style left a permanent physical, molecular scar on her children's DNA, altering their behavior for life. Nurture literally became embedded in their nature. So after all of this, where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with a completely new way of thinking about this ancient question. That's right. The whole idea of a battle between your genes and your environment, of one winning out over the other, it's officially retired. It's a relic from a time before we really understood the intricate dance that's going on between them. The problem wasn't just the answer. The problem was the question itself. Asking if it's nature or nurture is like asking what's more important for a rectangle, its height or its width. It's a nonsensical question. You can't have one without the other. So here it is, the new synthesis. It's not a competition, it's a collaboration. Our genes are literally designed to listen and respond to the environment. Our experiences awaken them, silence them, and fine-tune our genetic potential. It's nature via nurture. And that leaves us with a final, really powerful thought. If your life, choices, your habits, people you're around, is in a constant conversation with your DNA, what kind of instructions are you giving it? What story are your genes learning how to tell?